Hi, I'm Jeremy Wiley. I'm just some guy, but I have an idea that could change the world. Have you ever seen that camera that hangs over NFL games right over the quarterback's head? Well, it's basically that robot, but just hung by a balloon. Right now they rig it all to a stadium or something. But what I started recognizing is that balloons provide this constant lift that we never seem to take full advantage of. We normally talk about big giant blimps moving around when we talk about balloons, but they're stuck using propellers and engines to get around, and they're not very quick or efficient. But you don't have to move a balloon around. What if we treat a balloon like a big crane structure and then make the cables like that camera robot and move things around a little more easily? Here's what that looks like. And here's an early prototype that I made.
Doesn't look like much, but it's getting all the way over to the corner. Make it come halfway back. Then you can go to the other side.
So let me tell you about this though. 50 million landmines in 90 countries kill or maim 15 to 20,000 people a year right now. Right now, a guy with a stick or a cheap magnetic minesweeper can clear an area about the size of 2 swimming pools per day. 90% of minesweeping is done that way today, and they get 1,000 false positives before they find one mine. It'll take 500 years at this rate to clear the world of mines if we don't put another mine in the ground. Even suspected mines cause big problems. They make land unproductive and severely limit the economic possibilities of regions through the land use and fear. Minesweeping has to become faster and more accurate. The platform I'm talking about allows full three-dimensional access over really difficult terrain and over enormous areas too. It won't drift or vibrate like aircraft and cause interference to the complex minesweeping sensors like other aircraft. It can put a big powerful sensor within inches of the ground without touching it, and it can operate 24/7 automatically to get the job done quickly. And most importantly, it can do it without putting any feet or wheels in danger on the ground. I want to solve this problem in just a few years instead of the 500 years that it's going to take. I want to sell holes in the ground, the grid coordinates of where those mines used to be, and show our kids that a global problem can become a thing of the past. That's one problem, but here's some more. So that same comprehensive three-dimensional access I talked about can move people around really large areas really precisely as well. Think we can get to the top of that mountain? Or go inside of a volcano? I do. I think you could save lives on cliffs that mountain search and rescue teams can't see or hear fast enough today. It could solve enormous rural agricultural problems that we still don't have answers to, like carrying apples out of the Himalayas in India where they rot today because the roads and electricity don't go far enough. It could be an incredible three-dimensional roller coaster that's fully programmable. It would be mind-blowing as a concert stage or as a sports broadcast or movie camera. Or it could take close-in three-dimensional surveys of complex places. What about atmospheric science or telecommunications? It might generate energy uniquely, like high-altitude wind, solar, or thermal power, and be an energy-independent transportation system. Or it might more effectively distribute energy by transferring power mechanically over long distances, or by physically relocating stored energy from things like offshore wave power farms. What about using it to explore Mars or resupply the Arctic? It could catch airplanes and make them operate more efficiently, maybe even without airports. It might connect Africa to Europe over the Strait of Gibraltar. It'd be great to tour those hard-to-reach places by a gondola. Maybe we leave some of those places more intact. We could use it to build windmills or modular buildings that aren't even possible yet and put them in impossible places. But it would really change people's lives if it helped out in big disasters. Listening and smelling above building collapses, temporarily spanning broken links like bridges or overwhelmed ports, getting cargo from bottlenecks to where it really needs to be. Haiti's earthquake sank their whole port infrastructure into the water. There was no way to get to 90% of the supplies, which were on ships, without calling in the Marines. I'm a Marine, by the way. So look at this, because it's very, very important. A container on a ship carrying more supplies than an entire plane carries can be picked up offshore, which is really important, and carried all the way inland to where the real need is. Japan could have used this during the tsunami. Same for Indonesia in 2004. Same for Katrina in 2005. Same for a lot of hurricanes and earthquakes, actually. Full three-dimensional access like this over a big area is really important for disaster relief. We should know how to use these platforms and what their limits are so we can see if they can meet some of our greatest needs. Now let me show you something that could really start affecting your life. That same container picked up from a ship offshore and set down further inland. is circumventing billions of dollars worth of port infrastructure that has huge environmental impacts. That doesn't mean a whole lot in the US, where we have megaports with huge economies of scale and billions more to pour into them if we want to. But it means the world in small developing countries where they don't have the money to reach that scale. They're stuck with tiny ships, tiny ports, tiny cranes, and finally a tiny economy. They have geographical problems. They have seasonal agricultural demand that they can't reach. They have hungry economies that have little opportunity for change. Finding a way for them to have efficient access to the global market will create thousands of new marketplaces and will increase their stability. One of these communities will want to bring cargo more directly from an inland port to distribution centers inland to reduce truck traffic. Then they'll want to see if cargo from the distribution centers can go directly to the customer's doorstep and reduce nearly all truck traffic. Trucks cause thousands of times more damage to roads and bridges than cars do and cause huge maintenance and infrastructure costs. After that, they'll want to use the cargo system to make a type of bus system to carry people between city centers. That may be one day further and further decentralized with tiered services from city centers to town centers to village centers until a pedestrian can be picked up in a personal pod from their front door and automatically carried all the way to their destination's doorstep over a fast, seamless, free, personal transportation system paid for by the cargo system. And that would really change people's lives. Tethered Air is about untethering our imagination about what's possible tomorrow. In all our visions of the future, we want to connect better somehow, but the roads and cars that we use to connect doorstep to doorstep today are simply unsustainable. We need to harness the power of the air, capture the air, tether the air, without jet engines, rockets, and propellers, because they make it impossible to operate effectively and efficiently. These are unique, far-reaching concepts that could affect many people. So I want to build a socially responsible industry with clear ethical principles, where the stakeholders, not the shareholders, are the most important. I need help building and then showing people what's possible. I don't care if it works the way I expect it to or not, if we find a better way during the course of this conversation. This is about creating options for infrastructure where we need them. I need help reimagining the limitations about our future. What I want to show with Kickstarter is that the public demands something new. The public wants to get involved and see something real that can change things. By sponsoring us, you'll get access to our private blogs to see all the coolness as we develop it and to ask questions and give input. You'll get some swag, and you'll get invited to some of the really cool world record-breaking events that we should be holding pretty soon. Every dollar you put in will give you a vote that will help me select the right way to implement this. It'll make you a founding funder of Tethered Air, which I think I'll be able to commemorate in some very interesting ways in the coming years. We're going to use the money to build a stabilized robotic demonstrator with people who have already done stuff like this before, maybe even NASA, because we want to show the world how this works. We're aiming at smaller things first, like minesweeping, and the more money we get, the bigger we're going to make it for things like search and rescue and disaster relief. Obviously, the more money we get on Kickstarter, the more people are going to hear about it, and the more we're going to be able to do with it. But I think we're going to find some important rewards as we get underway. If we can show how interesting this is, Boone Pickens will notice he could erect his windmills and transmission lines in better places more easily. NASA will notice how this might explore Venus or Mars more easily. The Maldives or Costa Rica will notice how this can meet their dream of an energy-independent, environmentally sustainable transportation system. UPS will notice that it can add reliability and take kinks out of the supply chain during disasters. World Bank will notice that this is a cheap, sustainable port infrastructure for developing countries that is costing them billions to make today. A millionaire somewhere is going to realize something extraordinary that could affect the lives of 1 billion people on the planet. This is going to be interesting. If you dream up your own big idea for this, something you've always wanted to do, like if you're in a wheelchair and you've always wanted to scale the Amazon forest canopy, get to the top of a waterfall or a glacier or a mountain, or go see some other dangerous, beautiful location with silent three-dimensional access, pet a lion before he knows you're there, fly through World Heritage sites, if you want your logo on a balloon, or if you just think this will affect your industry, come join the conversation. If you can do this better than me, I'm challenging you to do just that and prove it quantitatively by December 21st, 2012, which is supposed to be Apocalypse Day, but I want to call it End of the Oil Era Day or Apocoil Day. I need leaders to join me in creating a brand new kind of transportation. It's going to change your view of the game. It's going to change how we solve the minesweeping problem. It's going to bring us to beautiful places. It's going to save people's lives. It's going to change the efficiency of industries. It's going to access the global marketplace, and it's going to get you from where you are to where you want to be. I watched this Honda film the other day, and an executive there said something that really hit me. The Stone Age didn't end because people ran out of stones.
And it'd be great if we can end the oil age, not because we run out of oil, but because we find something better.